Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Lancescurv Show. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who was on the show yesterday and the fabulous, often entertaining, sometimes confrontational conversation that we had yesterday. And I also apologize for pushing this show back 1 hour. It was supposed to come on at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 9 o'clock Ghana time. But I was out and I was pushing it, and I actually made it in 1 minute before showtime, but I had a few things to do. So on my trusty phone, I had changed the time on Rumble, on YouTube, Facebook, and what else on Twitch, and a few other things covertly. And tonight, this is not just about information. This is about healing, and it's not a show that's going to be a show to exploit or be insensitive, because I know sometimes, you can have platforms that speak on things, and sometimes and oftentimes they have good intentions, but at the end of the day, they've stepped on toes. Renee Green, welcome on in, my sister, from the West Coast. Everybody's going to be in here today, but I know it's going to be good when you get here first. So, yeah, I have to say before I start reading off my bulleted points is that percentage-wise, I would say 80% of those young ladies who opened up to me. Now, I don't know about the ones who, and I never asked a question. I've always been the type of person that people felt comfortable to approach. And it's from those who opened up to me to approach me to speak on those things. Because from what I gather, and this is not me saying it, they just said, you know what? You're very gentle, and I feel that I can speak to you and open up to you because there's something that's bothering me, and I haven't talked to anybody about it yet. Renee, yes, it is sad, and it's true, but statistics say one thing, but I think it's a lot more. I just think that many people, and it's not as though you're going to go out there with a bullhorn and tell something so hurtful and also embarrassing, the circumstances. And why do I say embarrassing? Because when it comes to incest, that's a whole different thing going on there, right? Giant Gain, welcome on in, sister. I'm so glad to see you. Now, it says abuse and incest, right? Now, I'm not going to just say the general abuse, because that encompasses so much more. Why I only said abuse on the thumbnail here is because I didn't want to step on YouTube's toes. You never know with them, right? Because I read in their community guidelines, which is an ever-tightening noose of censorship, that they said it's okay to talk about sexual abuse if it's your experience. I mean, they're just splitting peas now. You know what I mean? I mean, is the word too strong? I mean, it's almost like they're worried about more the advertisers, which pays the bills, I guess, but they basically want to be Disneyfied. And we know behind closed doors with Disney, it's not about, there's a lot of this going on there, right? And not to get off the subject, but I remember when I drove the bus for Lynx down in Orlando, that there was a place called Wet and Wild. And many who have gone down to Orlando years ago, because they took it down, Wet and Wild was a water park with water rides and stuff. And countless millions have to know about it, because tourists that come from the UK and South America, Philippines, wherever they come from, you didn't have to go there, but you saw it. It was right smack dab in the middle of International Drive. So from what I heard from people who work there, people who have gone there, there were bathrooms. Like as soon as you get in where you pay, right? There were bathrooms there, male and female bathrooms, and there were seats, of course. Well, if a child went into the bathroom, maybe the parent didn't go in with them, and it was okay if they did, under certain circumstances, but you could sit right there and wait for your loved one to go to the restroom. And I'm not sure if they were children's restrooms and then you come out, or like, say, for example, the boys' room, was it just for boys or men and boys? I don't know. But all I know is that they were telling me how right in front of those bathrooms, there were PEDOs, if you know what I mean. Like, not everybody, but these guys, how they revealed themselves, because they had digital high-level surveillance cameras that can pull you in close. They would sit there. They would pay and come in and sit there all day long and watch the children come out of the bathroom. They didn't do anything, hopefully not, but they just watched them. They just watched them. And I'm going to say it. There was a bus driver, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I just had to tell it because these guys can mask themselves as being someone who, oh, your daughter or your son is such an adorable little angel. And this bus driver kept with him a very expensive camera. It shocked me because I'd always see him with the camera. And so he wasn't sneaking pictures, but he would go through, he would take the Disney routes and international drive routes, right, where they're tourists. And so Orlando, to many, is a big city. I mean, it's a tourist city. It's not New York. So to me, it's not a big city. They just had the tourist areas, and that's that. But some people would be so impressed with coming to Orlando that it was like, wow. So the this bus driver, because I heard him say it out of his mouth at the end of the day when we all brought the buses in, he was talking to a few guys there. And I was on a computer close by in the driver's lounge because they had, the lazy boys, pool table, computers, and they had a room that was a dark room. You can go in there and sleep. And this is a 24-hour operation as far as the base is concerned. The buses stopped at a certain time and started at a certain time. And there really wasn't too much difference between when the operation stopped. Well, I'm kind of eavesdropping, ear hustling. And he's like, oh, I got so many wonderful pictures today of the little angels. And he was saying, you missed it today. There was a young girl. She was so pretty and adorable. And I always ask, can I take a picture of your beautiful, adorable? This guy, come on, what kind of game you think? This guy wasn't married. This guy looks straight weird. I mean, this guy, people are looking with the other drivers looking at me with the eyebrows raised. I'm like, I shook my head like, yeah, he's one. Let's hope he didn't do anything. Let me take a sip, y'all. And, it's going to be a mixture if I break things down here, because this topic we're going to attack several times in different ways. I don't mean all week or whatever. It will come back another month and a month after that from a different angle, from a different perspective. Because I believe all topics, you're not just going to do it in an hour, hour and a half, 5 hours. You can't do it. And eventually I would like to have a show where individuals can come and speak on how they feel. They don't have to get graphic in what happened to them. If they want to speak that way, they can. But I want people to come forward and speak on how they felt, how maybe they were made to be quiet, maybe how they made themselves quiet and held their feelings in, or maybe how what they've been through affected their relationships as they get older, because this doesn't go away. It's always in your mind. I mean, your first experiences imprints you, so there's a wide range that can't be narrowed down. One size fits all. It can't work that way. Let me know how the sound is. I think it's a little more crisp than, because I switched, I listened to some of the show last night And I was like, I got to switch that mic. I got to calibrate everything a certain way. But I think this mic is a little more crystal clear. And again, if I blank out and you don't hear me, that means there was a power blinkage, and I will be back on within 90 seconds. So don't go away, right? Let's move forward. I'm trying to cut off this light. I got a light that goes on top of my camera, like a portable, tiny little light, very powerful. And for some reason, I can't cut this thing off. And I'm weird. I hate to see anything electronic drain down. It's like before I go to bed, everything I have, I got to plug it in. So I just have to be ready all the time. I don't know where that came from, but I think one time I was supposed to do some video and my battery was low and I forgot to charge it and I didn't have enough to get everything out in the street. And I was so mad. I said, you know what? Oh, thank you, Giant Game. April, I'm glad you're here. Yes, we are here. We're going to get down. You're at work? Great. Have something to entertain you, you know. And at some point, I'll open up the lines for anybody who wants to come in. That was very interesting last night. The exchange. Yeah, I got beside myself. I just couldn't take it no more with that condescending talk that that lady did. But, you know, I picked up on her. I kind of read her spirit. I guess I'm going to have to let this thing just burn out because there's no cutting this thing off. Sexual abuse and incest within Black families is a deeply troubling issue that has remained hidden under layers of silence, stigma, and general trauma. Now, let me just say, sexual abuse and incest is not just relegated to Black families, right? But within the Black community, if we can say we have one, right? It's I can't use the word special because nothing special about it, but I was going to say it happens in a unique way. There's certain little things, there's overlap with everybody, but there's certain little aspects on how we are as a people that this thing is a little different. You understand? I always use the analogy. If you take chicken, right? You take chicken and you have a Mexican cook it. You take chicken and have a Jamaican cook it. You take chicken and have an Italian person cook it, right? It's going to be different. You know it's chicken, but it's flavored a different way. Willie Rivers, thank you for coming on in, brother. I'm seeing you more and more, and that makes me happy. Thank you so much, right? But with us, it's then you got the religious aspect mixed in. That's another show, you know? But you got households that are highly religious, and there's incest going on and child abuse. See, I know of people like this personally, and I've dated women whose family and sisters and brothers had stories to tell. Now, I'm not going to say any names, you know. Yeah, and it's male and female. It's not just female. I mean, I put the female here. I forgot to put the tears in her eye, and I put the teddy bear. And of course, this is AI. I did not draw these things or whatever. I don't have enough time. I could paint something like this, but the prompts I put in, it didn't put the tears. There were several other pictures that I would say were not appropriate, you know, because I wanted the young lady covered a certain way. I didn't want, they gave me photos that were like really overly sexualized. I mean, you know, thongs and no. That kind of suggests that the victim had a role in it. Like, you know, and even if you did wear that in your bedroom as a young girl, nobody has the right to come in and violate you, right? And the face is like a little older than what I wanted. That can double as a young girl, or it could be somebody in their early 20s if you change the outfit and put a bigger body on her. So I'm very aware of that. And again, to those who just came in, and as far as listeners is concerned, I didn't want to put sexual abuse in the title on YouTube, okay? I just put abuse and incest, but it's actually sexual abuse and incest, right? And I try to keep the titles tight so you can have more punch. And I evolve with my styles of banner anyway. Sometimes I do this or that, and I'm kind of liking this style. Simple, to the point, and your brain can digest it. Yes, anytime, Willie Rivers, yes. But let me continue. Okay, the complexities of this topic are vast, involving not only the personal pain of the survivors, but also the societal and cultural forces that contribute to the perpetration of such abuse. This discussion seeks to bring this sensitive subject to light, offering a comprehensive exploration that aims to foster understanding and empathy for those who have endured those harrowing experiences. By shedding light on the realities of sexual abuse within Black families, and again, it's not just Black families, but we do it. I'm not saying we do it. I mean, excuse me, but it's done in slightly different ways, right? But everybody can get something from this. We hope to break the silence that has long surrounded this issue and begin the process of healing and change. The historical roots of this silence are deeply intertwined with the broader context of systemic racism and the exploitation of Black bodies throughout history. And that's what I'm talking about. From the brutalization of enslaved Africans to the ongoing racial injustices faced by Black communities today, the collective trauma has been internalized, creating a culture where family secrets are buried to preserve a facade of strength. See, this is what I'm talking about. The reluctance to acknowledge or confront the reality of sexual abuse within the family has allowed the cycle of trauma to continue, often leading to devastating consequences for the victims. Understanding the historical context is crucial to unraveling the deep-seated issues that have contributed to this silence. Family dynamics also play a significant role in perpetrating abuse. Power imbalances within the family, often reinforced by patriarchal structures and rigid gender roles, can create environments where abuse is not only possible, but difficult to expose. Abusers often manipulate these dynamics to maintain control over their victims, using fear, shame, and manipulation to keep them silent. For survivors, the betrayal by a trusted family member adds another layer of trauma, complicating their ability to seek help or healing. Addressing these family dynamics is essential in breaking the cycle of abuse and creating safer environments for future generations. You see what I mean? It's compounded. And the aspect of, slavery and having to be strong, and the religious aspect where we kind of like lose ourselves in that, and a lot of us are in denial as a family. That's another thing that I want to talk about. So there's certain little aspects that I'm going to have as full-blown shows, but I want to focus on these in surgical precision. The psychological and emotional impact of sexual abuse is profound and far-reaching, affecting every aspect of a survivor's life. The trauma inflicted by such abuse can lead to a range of mental health issues, including PTSD, depression, anxiety, and complex trauma. The scars left by abuse are not just physical, but deeply psychological, often affecting a survivor's sense of self-worth, identity, and ability to form healthy relationships. This discussion delves into the many ways in which sexual abuse affects survivors, with the aim of fostering a deeper understanding of their struggles and the importance of providing them with the support they need to heal. Number one, the historical silence and stigma surrounding sexual abuse in Black families. The silence surrounding sexual abuse in Black families is rooted in a long history of systemic racism, exploitation, and the devaluation of Black bodies. From the horrors of slavery, where Black bodies were commodified and violated, to the ongoing struggles against racial injustice, Black families have often faced immense pressure to maintain a facade of strength and unity. This has led to a culture of silence, where speaking out about abuse is often met with disbelief, shame, or further trauma. The intergenerational transmission of trauma has perpetuated this silence, making it difficult for survivors to break free from the cycle of abuse and silence. Mad guns in the house. A Lancinator here on point. Yeah, glad you're here, brother. Number two, the role of family dynamics in perpetuating abuse. Within the family structure, Certain dynamics contribute to the concealment and perpetration of abuse. Patriarchy, authoritarian parenting, and rigid gender roles create power imbalances that allow abusers to manipulate and control their victims. These dynamics can silence victims through fear, manipulation, and threats, making it nearly impossible for them to speak out. The family, which should be a source of love and protection, becomes a place of danger and betrayal. Could you imagine that? I know people like, I know households like this. Not now, but in the past, I've known households like this. And it's not like, say, for example, most of the time it came through maybe dating a young lady or just spending time with a woman. It wasn't always sexual. It wasn't always somebody you like. And hey, let's hang out a little bit. And you get to know their family. It's somewhere in the neighborhood. And you pick up on certain things. And all of a sudden, somebody says something, one of the brothers or sisters under their breath, and you pick up on it like, oh my God, really? And then you see something, you see these patterns, you see different things. I know certain families that are so dysfunctional in multifaceted ways that the time has passed. Those things, from what I'm hearing, those things are still issues, and we are so much older. And I can only see that there's some people that are going to live with this for the rest of their life until they leave this earth, unless they get help. You know, so the people who are listening, if you've been through that, and if you're not here and you're hearing this afterward, please try to deal with this thing and get some help. You know, I know it can cloud your mind. And like I said, I've spoken to many people who have opened up. I've spoken to a few brothers, but the brothers sometimes, they're like, I ain't telling nobody that happened to me. You know what I mean? But the women can sometimes be a little more open, because I try to be a little soothing in my personality down to the years. You know, I've had a lot of exploits and crazy stuff happen, but I was always loving toward women and wanted to be looked at as a protector. And when I say that, please, knuckleheads out there, oh, you simping. It wasn't always about getting to somebody's private parts. Sometimes you need it. And I have a loving spirit that way. I'm also a warrior. You know what I mean? Like a drop of a dime, we can roll. But the bottom line is, when I see somebody who has a void inside of them, I just naturally want to fill that void and not pull it out of them. Oh, what happened? He did what? No, not like that. Just sometimes people have told me that they've been abused without even saying it. And we had deep conversations without saying any word about that. They never told me who, but they let me know who. You see, there are many levels to deep conversations that many people don't understand. And there's nonverbal communication also. And when you see a person who has been abused, there's a lot of that, whether they know it or not. The psychological and emotional impact of sexual abuse on victims. The psychological and emotional toll of sexual abuse is devastating. Survivors often experience a range of immediate and long-term effects. Okay, did I read this one already? My handwriting just makes me, I'm going to read it over. I'll read it all over again. No, I just read this one. I read this already. I slid the thing down. Gender differences in the experience and expression of trauma. Male and female survivors often experience and express their trauma differently due to societal expectations and gender roles. Male survivors may struggle with feelings of emasculation, anger, and confusion about their sexual identity, leading to underreporting and a reluctance to seek help. On the other hand, the female survivors may internalize guilt, shame, and self-blame, which can affect their relationships and self-worth. These gendered responses to trauma highlight the need for tailored support and interventions that address the unique challenges faced by both male and female survivors. Let me take a little sip of this. And I think, like it was said, you know, the societal pressures, you know, look at cultures that the macho thing is pushed a whole lot. Say, for example, Latino, Hispanic, whatever you want to call it. I mean, these names they've made up in the last 30, 40 years. It's always a macho thing. And those are the guys that break faster because they got to keep this image up. And it's across the board. I mean, with brothers from America, Black Americans, and especially Jamaicans and men from the Caribbean, manhood, manhood, manhood. Isn't it something that, I'll throw this out there, from what I'm learning, there's been a lot of that. And I'm picking on Jamaica because I know of Jamaica. I'm married to a Jamaican. I've been to Jamaica. And so I have family, distant family, close family. And I understand, from what I understand through my reading, that was one of the places where they would buck break a lot of the slaves, a lot of the enslaved, excuse me, we're not slaves, but they buck broke them there. And that it hit me. I said, is this the reason why many Jamaicans are caught up in keeping up the facade of manhood? And I got to be, be a man, and, I'm a man, and I can't cry. And I'll cry in a heartbeat. Don't bother me none. That's not tears of weakness. That's just emotional sweat. I'm happy about something, I'll cry. I'm very passionate about life. I don't have those hangups, right? But I've known a lot of men from the Caribbean and especially Jamaica who are so rigid with the imagery of their manhood. And it made me wonder, there are people that I know that they can't maintain a friendship for long with men, right? Heterosexual, but this particular one has to find a reason to demonize a good male friend and all of their good male friends after they got close. And it hit me, and this is my outlook on it, that I know that the majority of the sisters and brothers were molested. Well, I'm not saying why wasn't he like he should be, but pretty much from what I know under the circumstances, Brother Landon, thanks for coming in. Yeah, we're going to do that tonight. But from what I know, there's more to it. I don't want to say too much because there are people out there who listen and, but I know a lot about them. And chances are the way he reacts is because he was molested by a man, and he has this image about being manly and being hard, and you can't cry, you must be. But when you get close to other men, I don't mean you doing homo stuff or laying up in the bed with each other hugged up. I'm not saying nothing like that. But just know, hey man, come around. We're gonna fix this car today, man. I need your help. Oh yeah, we got the fight plan tonight. Come on over. And you feel close. I love my brothers. I love Landon Price. I love Mad Guns. I love Willie Rivers. I love the sisters too. But I can say, I love you, brothers. And I'm not hung up on, don't take it as I'm some homo. And it's funny because every male friendship they had, after they demonized them and came up with some cockamamie reason why they don't talk to them no more, when you do your little investigation, I'm being nosy, but you say, hey man, there's a pattern. Say, I don't know, out of nowhere, man, he just, and I see, in this specific situation I'm talking about, I know, I can see it now. I can see it. So what pain, you're trying to keep a facade up. I'm not saying all men who are molested by men, but you got to keep up this facade, and deep down inside, this is the thing, male or female, when you are abused, whether it's for somebody from the outside of the family, somebody from the inside of the family, you are imprinted by this first sexual experience. And it may have been strange to you, may have been underage a whole lot. And what are you thinking when you're not, wow, this feels good, this turns me on. No, you're not thinking that. But later on, when it kicks in, when you start to discover your sexuality, now your mind can sometimes refer back to that which wasn't proper, wasn't good. And then we have the aspect, which will be another show, of the transferal of demonic energy. Not to say that the victim is a demon or possessed, But these things will latch on to you and hold on to you. And when you start to realize your budding sexuality and the curiosities that come when you're young, now you have this thing looming in your head. And from what I've discovered with, I'm not going to, it sounds bad if I said with many women. I'm not King Solomon, but I've lived, you all know that. I found out that some, and many from what I can see, but some who have openly confessed to me, and again, I never said or asked anybody about what happened. I'm just calm, soothing, you can talk to me about anything kind of guy, and I'm going to be non-judgmental. There was one young lady who told me the details, and she was very verbal about it and open about it with me. I didn't ask or inquire because I never do, but she discussed it with me, and she understood that she was imprinted, and many of the things that were done to her, she liked. Yeah. And that's not strange, but she wasn't struggling with it. You see what I mean? This was very interesting. I love the study of the human mind and human nature. And she was very open about it. Not that she had some molestation or incestual fantasy, because her thing wasn't really an incest thing. And I have to clarify, it was more of a, you were too young to be doing this type thing. And it wasn't somebody really much older. In actuality, it was her older sister. Yeah. And would play around with her. She wasn't that much older. And so this is what made her curious about other women. And then the thing with men, because things happened with her, there was and I can say it. She wouldn't have any problem with me saying it, just to get into specifics. Because, and why am I getting into specifics? To sensationalize the show? No, I'm saying things so people who may have gone through things say, wow, I'm not the only one. Because it happened to me with an older female cousin. I was 5 years old and she was in her 30s. Imprinted me. I spoke about that before. And she had me perform an act on her. So why is it that, if you had pizza put in your mouth from young, you're going to like eating pizza? I'll make a joke of it because it's my situation. You're going to like eating pizza when you're older. And pizza is a word that has 5 letters and starts with the letter P. Read between the lines. So she had no problem explaining that. There was a guy, a Chinese man, who owned a shop. She might have been 11 years old, 12 years old, but she was developing early. Somehow, some way, the man would have her come around because she kept coming around, and he would go down on her. And that, oh, it was so exciting. And I'm like, what? This man was taking advantage of you. But she was so, most people say, oh man, that girl mixed up. No, she's not mixed up. She was imprinted multiple times. And just had to take a little time to untangle certain things, which over the years, being a friend of hers, I tried to help. We were intimate for a little while, and then it was just a friendship. And she was very open with me, and very open, So you just don't know. The impact of sexual abuse on identity formation and self-perception. Sexual abuse, especially when it occurs during childhood or adolescence, disrupts the normal process of identity formation. Survivors may struggle with their sense of self, body image, and sexual identity, leading to issues such as dissociation, sexual dysfunction, and difficulties in establishing healthy relationships. The trauma of abuse can cause survivors to feel disconnected from their bodies, leading to a fractured sense of identity and a deep mistrust of others. And this is what happens to a lot of women, but especially with a lot of Black women and Black men too. But I kind of find this one leans more toward the women, where they feel disconnected from their bodies. See, that's got to be frustrating, because it's like I'm gonna say it this way: we adults, it's like you want to pee, but you don't have the ability to remove your undergarments when you go to the restroom, so you pee yourself. I'm not saying it's the reason why people wet the bed, and it could be very much. What I'm saying is that when you feel disconnected from your body is still, you're still a sexual being. You have that aspect, but it can't come out because you're disconnected from your body. You're disconnected from that sexual energy, which is part of your life force. And again, like we say before, and I've always said it, that's one system of the body that doesn't have to be utilized. But I believe it's something that's very crucial for your mental. If you have that disconnect, it doesn't mean that it's not there. You can take pills to disconnect yourself from hunger. And you can walk around, I'm not hungry. I haven't eaten 3 days, but your body's still suffering. That's the way that I would explain that from my point of view, because that's my opinion. But let me get a sip here. Keep the throat moist. Give me a second, y'all. Nothing like it. Yeah, so, and remember, there's a lot of things going on in our developmental years. So, in my opinion, if you are an adult and have to deal with the sexual abuse and incest, don't ever think there's anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Something was wrong with the person that did these things to you. And a lot of meditation, a lot of getting away from anything that reminds you of what happened, even when it was an incest thing and you have a family member who did this, but family members kind of know, but they don't want to upset the apple cart because they have to keep a facade. You become that little boy and that little girl who suffered that when you go to the Thanksgiving dinner or the family cookout. You see the abuser and it's like, you're a grown woman or man, but because of the family hierarchy and not wanting to upset the apple cart, because there are family members who will know, they will know what's going on because you're closely connected. And sometimes there'll be family members, brothers or sisters that this happens to, and they're all amongst each other and nobody says a word. And once one person breaks the chain to speak, and this is experience from observing now and being very close to situations, and I'm not saying this is a one size fits all. The floodgates come flooding. The floodgates are open now. When one person comes forward, all of a sudden, everybody else starts opening up on their own pace, their own time. I will tell you, let me read another section here and I'll get into telling you about that, because I have several examples that I've been exposed to, but I'm going to mix them up so it's not like, okay, somebody's going to say, I know exactly who you're talking about. Cultural barriers to seeking help and support. Cultural barriers play a significant role in preventing Black survivors from seeking help. Distrust of mental professionals. You know how it is. I ain't crazy. Fear of judgment. I don't want anybody to think I'm crazy. And concerns about reinforcing negative stereotypes often keep survivors silent. And this goes for all Black folks, damn near. They do not want to get help. They don't. Additionally, the lack of culturally competent therapists who understand the unique challenges faced by Black survivors further exacerbates this issue. It is crucial to address these barriers by promoting culturally sensitive therapy and increasing the representation of Black therapists in the mental health field. Yes, there are many Caucasians who, in the mental health field, who just thinks it's a one size fits all. But like I said at the beginning, it's something in our culture, it's a little different. The same acts happen, the same proximities and situations in families with incest or sexual abuse may happen, but we're sensitive in unique ways. Look, You can't take a Buick engine and put it in a Toyota. Yes, you can get things to adapt and do it, but you don't do that. Toyota parts for a Toyota vehicle, Buick parts for a Buick, right? Or a Chevy, or a Bentley. There's specific things that they need. A little child would see all these different cars. I don't see the difference. They all got 4 wheels, a steering wheel, an exhaust pipe, a horn, a windshield wipers, but you begin to understand that, okay, they're unique. They fall into a certain category. Well, like they say, oh, we're all humans. Okay. But why do you say that some are humankind and some are humans? Look, I'm not going to go there tonight, but you know what I mean? But we're unique. We can't be neglected by just catching the crumbs of Eurocentric, which that does not apply to us as a people. There's more to spiritual element, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, plus the suffering that we've gone through. Right? The spiritual aspects. Here it is. The role of religion and spirituality in coping and healing. Religion and spirituality can be both a source of comfort and a barrier to healing for survivors of sexual abuse. Religious teachings on forgiveness, purity, and family loyalty can sometimes be weaponized against victims. I've seen this. Oh, I gotta say it again. Religious teachings on forgiveness, purity, and family loyalty can sometimes be weaponized against victims, making it difficult for them to speak out or seek justice. On the other hand, faith-based communities can provide essential support, offering a sense of hope and belonging in the healing process. It is important to acknowledge the dual role of religion and spirituality and to encourage survivors to seek support that aligns with their spiritual beliefs. You see that? It can be weaponized. Well, why do you want to go on and say the uncle molested or the father? Look, I dated a girl, the father molested everybody. He didn't do her, but everybody, and it was a younger sister, but everybody else, boys and girls, older sister and the rest of the boys, messed up everybody. And the mother was in the church. The mother wore all white, pictures of the Bible taped up on the wall, in her own world. The husband slept on a cot at the foot of the bed because she knew what he did, but she never really confronted him that way. She knew. And everybody was growing up in the same house. Nobody really left because they were made to be handicapped. They were dealing with the drama. They couldn't develop all the way. Some turned to drugs. Very nice people. Okay. Let me take care of this real quick. All right. We're going to deal with this little knucklehead. We're talking about something sensitive here. And this fool comes in. Did y'all see that? It could have been on a different platform. I didn't even look to see what platform it was on because my chat room shows Facebook people, Twitch people, not Rumble, but because Rumble, I'm on Rumble, but that takes care of itself and YouTube. It's always somebody. See, this is what I'm trying to say. There's always somebody who comes in with something stupid when it comes time for something sensitive. And they wouldn't dare say something in person. How insensitive. It's crazy. And to think that men like this, the name was Andrew Joseph. I don't know if you saw it. They get into relationships with women. Oftentimes women who have, special sensitive needs of what has happened to them in the past. And these guys who are pricks, insensitive pricks, will ruin a woman even more. And you have women who will ruin men more. So while I focus on the women, y'all, I'm still speaking about both. Like I always say, I'm not going to do 2 shows or each point read it twice. It's okay. This is for the men and read the same exact thing for the women because both have their unique things. And when it comes to this topic, I'm going to deal sometimes with the men and their unique things and their unique pressures. So there will be this topic again titled a different way. And just like I do other things. But now it's time to get down to it. Regardless if the old channel's gone, I'm still going to go in harder with surgical precision. And if people don't like it, and I don't mean the people that are listening, but the powers that be, because they want us, shaking our ass and rainbowing it down and all, I'm not knocking nobody, but there's certain things I want to talk about in a healing way. I'm not old, but I'm getting older. I see more right now. I'm still the same crazy guy, make you laugh and tell the stories. We'll have all comedy nights. We'll do that when the studio is completed and you can see me, because a joke is funny when you can see a person. Let me take a sip, y'all. Weaponized spirituality. That's going to be one of the titles of the shows. I love all these titles popping up in my head. But in those grossly religious households that I've known so well and dated someone in it, the mother flipped it around on the children who are now grown. When little explosive things would pop up, every now and then there'll be an eruption because there's friction going on under everything. And the father lived there, right there with them. The uncle would come over and he would ogle one of his nieces in front of the father, in front of his brother. So what kind of household did they grow up in? Not to knock the South, but they came from the deep South. And this is back in the early 80s for me. And they were grown, 50, near 60. So you count back, let's just say if they were 60 or 55, but about 60, right? From 1980, 82, around in there, we're going back to 1920, 22. So now coming up, they were 20 years old in 1940. They were 15 and 35. They were 10 in 1930. What was going on with them? Did they even identify sexual abuse and incest in those days? There's a lot of things, I'm all for my black people, but we had some things that were done to us that were never addressed, and it's been normalized, but hush, hush. And nobody wants to talk about it. You see? So I remember the sister of the girl I was dating was walking up the steps, and the uncle found himself at the foot of the steps, and she had a skirt on that was decent. And he tossed some dimes and nickels up on the step. She didn't know. I said, "Oh, could you pick that up for me?" Now she was already high up over, and she kind of bent down sideways, and he's bending down looking, and the father was laughing. I saw this with my own eyes. I was so angry and in shock. What was they gonna do? Beat the man down? I couldn't believe it. And that's when the girl I was dating was telling me more and more. So these dysfunctional households that act as a support system and a base for this type of behavior, as soon as you can, you got to get out of it. And I know sometimes the financial aspect of it, finding your own place can be daunting because you may not be working, or you might be working a job where you don't make much money, and you kind of like, okay, I'll deal with it. It's not happening no more, but I got to be in that place until. But you have to have some kind of space away from that. I understand things can't happen overnight. Next one, the cycle of abuse. How unaddressed trauma perpetuates future abuse. Unresolved trauma from sexual abuse can lead to a cycle of abuse within families. Victims may inadvertently perpetuate this cycle either by becoming abusers themselves or unconsciously recreating abusive dynamics in their relationships. This cycle of abuse can continue across generations, causing widespread harm within families and communities. Breaking this cycle requires therapy, education, and open dialogue, allowing survivors to process their trauma and prevent the perpetration of abuse. It's like this. They can process it when they get this therapy and education, open dialogue. Not to get too scientific, but I remember when I was doing bodybuilding and we used to take this supplement called lecithin, choline, and inositol. And those are known as fat emulsifiers. So what is an emulsifier? You take one big glob of fat. Let's just make it simple. And when you took these supplements, it broke it down into little pieces that were easily digestible, right? So now therapy, education, and open dialogue can take the big, immense issue that you feel is something impossible to break down. But when you go through therapy and education and have open dialogue and trusted friendships, both personal and professional, it helps to break it down and make it easily, I don't want to say digestible, because you don't want to digest what you went through, but easy to handle, to throw away, to get rid of, to purge your system out of it. But when you have all of this stuff, and it's not just in your head, I'm not saying, oh, it didn't happen, it's in your head. No, I'm not meaning that. But as you move and go to the new job, you meet new friends, and in the back of your mind, like, wow, I went through this, and I wonder if they ever did, but you don't say anything, right? Not that you're supposed to go with a bullhorn and tell everybody, but it's something, it's a, like I said in the title, unveiling the painful reality. We keep it veiled, we keep it inside. And it grows, it's like it has interest, like a loan. More is added on. That's why the intervention is very, very important. So the spiritual aspect of it, I'm using that family as an example. With Black folks in religion and the weaponized spirituality and the secret things going on, and how some people in the family will take up for the abuser. And if you even look like you think about moving your mouth to say anything about it, you're demonized. Not just in that area, because they know it's true, but you're made to be just put down in other ways, like you're less than, like bringing up something else to deflect you from going to that issue. There was a funeral that I heard about through a mutual friend, that when the daughter got to the front by the casket of the father, she spit in the father's face and graphically began to talk about what he did for years to her. If that's what she needed to do, I'm all for it. Well, he was dead and gone, but guess what? That family was holding together that dynamic of hush, hush, hush. It was the past. That was a long time ago. Those scars don't ever go away. You understand? They never go away. And if that's what she needed, the last time she was going to see her father's physical form, that she purged herself, how could everybody else in that funeral get angry? They got angry. You out of place. That didn't happen. Why would you bring that up? And that's the past. And unbelievable that we have to go this long with this. And the victims of this are innocent. Isn't it something? And oftentimes many of them begin to start to think, did I do something to deserve this? Did I entice the person? It all depends on the variables of age and different stuff, right? But what I found is that either this abuse, this sexual abuse, either makes you shut down or it causes you to act out in a promiscuous manner. Now, I'm not saying you're promiscuous because of that and you're running around. You're not that way. It's your response to it. That's your response to it. And we don't always understand. I saw a young lady in the neighborhood. We were all young, right? She was dressing normal. And she was slim. She wasn't in her bloodline, her DNA, and her family. They were all slim. And one year, when she turned 13, she started to cover herself up like a little too much. Meaning that, why are you wearing coats in the summertime? Trench coats and, buttoning up your shirt up to the neck. Everything you wore up to the neck, long skirts down to your ankles, socks, you know what I mean? Stockings sometimes, but just like you not seeing anything except from my neck up type thing. Long sleeve. I wasn't dumb at that age. I kind of figured. I spoke to my mother about that. I said, do you? She said, yeah, I noticed it, Because me and my mother would have deep talks like that. My father too, but in different ways. Because he's a man, she's a woman. I said, Mommy, from last year, and all of a sudden, something happened with her. I think she was violated. Her personality kind of changed. She was withdrawn. See, in situations like this, somebody has to notice it. Lots of times in some of these dysfunctional families, they don't want to know. Let's play pretend. Let's carry on like normal. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. Please don't break the illusion of the perfect family. See? That's sick. Number 9. Legal and social challenges of addressing incest and sexual abuse. The legal complexities and challenges in prosecuting cases of incest and sexual abuse within families are significant. Survivors often face immense difficulties in coming forward, including the fear of not being believed, the potential for family alienation. Yes, that will happen, right? And the long-term impact of legal proceedings on their mental health. Additionally, the justice system may fail to provide adequate support and protection for survivors. Legal reform and better support systems are urgently needed to ensure that survivors can seek justice without further traumatization. All this money they're spending on the immigrants coming in to America, giving them thousands of dollars, places to live, debit cards, EBT cards, free health care, and the people who built the place. And I will include the other races who may have been instrumental in being middle class, working hard, whatever class you are, where you're not over somebody else and oppressing them. But why can't you take also that money instead of giving weaponry to other countries and protect the children and build a strong system where the children are protected? But these people that call themselves politicians are more interested in this other foolishness I just mentioned and other things too. While so many thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Black children are going missing in America, and it's crazy worldwide too. Oh yeah. Right up under our noses, there is a system. This is not anything by chance. Unless it's some alien spaceship swooping down and sucking your body up in the middle of the night out of your bed or something. What about that? How about that? How about that? How about some of us make our own system of checks and balances that as a child is walking home, every few homes is a designated place to run to when something happens. We get nosy on the wrong thing. Yeah, I saw sister so-and-so's car pulled up by brother so-and-so when his wife was gone and she'd been there for the last 3 days. And my son said she was walking in the backyard naked. Not naked, but naked. NEKKID. You so nosy for that, and children are being taken away from us. Where are they? Sex trafficking and organ theft, I'd say, in my experience in talking to so many people, right? And it's amazing the priorities of these people. And we have to be, and I'm not saying anybody here in the room, I'm saying overall, that's our future. We have to bear the responsibility for calling certain things out, protecting children, instead of focusing on the foolishness. And the American government is way out of order. You take care of home at first. Take care of home first. You want to bully the whole world, be the police for the whole world. Nobody likes you. And you ain't doing right at home, but you want to front, but now the secret's out. It's like a man who beats on his wife and makes babies outside of the relationship. He was fronting, though, but now the secret's out. You can't hide no more. We know what you do. You ain't all that. America, you're not all that. You're acting like you're sitting there, home of the free, home of the brave, land of the free, whatever. I don't even memorize that foolishness. After a while, I stopped pledging allegiance in elementary school. They tried to get me in trouble. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I was always this way. Even if I didn't know as much and experience as much, we got to get back to the village mentality. This is why I say so many of us who are so focused on the wrong things. Kamala Harris don't give a damn about nobody. What about our children? Oh, I can't. Black people, it's got to be good for all people. Well, I mean, maybe if you were black, you'd be concerned. But our children, that's the biggest diss of all from the country. In the Washington, D.C. area, there were about 10,000 at one point within a short span of time. That's also abuse. Where are they? Are they in another country, being a sex slave, doing all kind of crazy things? Now, you have the Instagram models and the OnlyFans models that go over to Dubai and Saudi Arabia, and they pay their way, and we're going to give you $60,000 to walk out of here with, but we're going to give you 15 up front. We're going to pay for your flight and your hotel and everything. And they get there and they realize that these guys are ganging up on them, doodling on them and peeing on them. Let's just tell like it is. And they didn't believe what they had to go through. One man after the other. One man craps on the woman, and the next man climbs on top of it, inserts himself in the woman, and there's doodle all over the place. And the next man does that too. That is nasty. That is demonic. They went for that. They're grown. They made a decision, okay, I'm going to do this. But young children, and they're missing their mother, their father, their aunt, their whoever raised them. Because our homes are so fractured, we can't always assume that a child has a mother and a father. And sometimes when they do, they're disconnected from them. Have no relationship. You're in the house, but you have no relationship with them. You speak to them, you laugh at them, you eat with them, but you don't know what's really going on. And see, the thing is that, just like I said about the legal intervention, so what happened to the tough guys in the neighborhood? What happened to the ones who will ride or die? Forget some cop or legal whatever. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to that, you beat their ass. And in some cases, you let that child see. And sometimes the child, if it happens to be the father, they may not want to see that because it's still their father. But we need to self-correct. We need to be a community. We talk all this stuff, and black community, yeah, man, the black man, we need unity. Like the leader last night, we need our hospitals, we need our school. Where they at? Let's say it the ignorant, abonic way. Where they at? Where are they? Where are they? And that lady was acting like it was Africans' fault. Huh? We can't do it for ourselves. I'm over here in the motherland. Oprah Winfrey got a lot of children in Chicago who need her help, and she gonna go all the way out of the country into Africa. See, she had to make it come over to Africa, right? She wasn't gonna do it over in Europe. She really would have been exposed. So they can't say, well, it's nice, you help the African children, but what happened to the ones who need you right up on your under your nose? The powers that be got you muzzled. That's why. Big time. Just like all those celebrities. Bought and paid for. They can't say nothing about it. These pedos in Hollywood, these pedos in politics. Come on, man. Look at Joe Biden, how he carries on when little girls come around him. I don't care how old he is. You falling up the steps, I'm gonna push you and nobody looking to make you fall back on the steps if you're doing something like that. You're advocating violence now, Lance, and we're going to send the CIA over to you because that is the president. You're threatening him. Please, let me take a sip, y'all. I was thirsty. Yeah. Number 10, the role of community in protecting and supporting survivors. The community plays a crucial role in protecting and supporting survivors of sexual abuse and incest. Community organizations, schools, faith groups can raise awareness, provide resources, and create safe spaces for survivors to share their stories and begin the healing process. It is essential for communities to actively engage in supporting survivors, breaking the silence, and preventing future abuse. I like that, breaking the silence. I'm going to use that. That's a t-shirt. 11, the impact of sexual abuse on interpersonal relationships. Sexual abuse has a profound impact on survivors' ability to form and maintain healthy interpersonal relationships. Issues such as trust, intimacy, and communication are often compromised, leading to difficulties in both platonic and romantic relationships. Male and female survivors may experience these challenges differently, with some struggling to establish boundaries and others fearing vulnerability. Trauma-informed relationship counseling can be a vital tool in helping survivors rebuild their relationships and develop healthy connections with others. Yeah, there's some male and female. And I know many who share stuff with me, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, but you have men who cannot be sexual with their wives. And they admitted things happen to them. But it's something that shuts off inside of you the moment it goes from the companionship to the erotic. There's a switch that shuts off. And many times those who react that way may not always know what it was. Because even though it's not a proper thing, that was their first experience from an abuser. That was still their first sexual experience, whether they felt something or of course you didn't like it, but you're imprinted with the memory. And so now when you begin to get closer to your mate, whether you're male or female, all of a sudden the vulnerability and you may not think about the abuser, but you don't want to go to that place. The healing is very important in so many different ways. But if you go to the doctor and you have a really bad gash on your foot, you don't put a Band-Aid on your head. You deal with the issue that's on your foot. You've got to be able to say what it is, or as much as you know. This is why when you go to a doctor and he says, I'm scared to go to the hospital. In the perfect world, right? What seems to be the problem? Well, doctor, there's a pain up under my left arm and I have shortness of breath and looks like a stroke might be coming. Let's check you out. You got to give them something to start out with. The doctor's not just going to look at you and be able to tell. The therapist is not going to be able to just look at you and tell. But because of the fear of vulnerability, the abuser might even have transitioned and gone. But in your mind, to talk about it, you still fear his wrath or his punishment, because when you were a little girl, little boy, you were made to feel scared if you told. You think I'm talking crazy? This is very much real. And many people will agree it's not a right or wrong thing. Some people remember, some don't. But I've talked to enough people, and this is what they go through. So we have to be very sensitive in how we deal. Even the language that some people who even mean well, they will just blurt out and ask you about specific acts performed or what. You don't do that. That's not even necessary. If the person wants to reveal that, if you know that they have been violated, take it as that. Because you're going to take time and connect with them. So, hey, I heard someone say, no, man, you can't talk like that. I know some people who have no empathy. They have no empathy anyway. Let's put it that way. Unless it's their issue or they got a problem, they want you to care about it. But you could be in a relationship with a man as a woman, right? And this person, you want to open up all the way. Isn't that beautiful to be able to open up all the way and still be loved and accepted? When you have gone through this, Earth Angel 1105 remix, I was looking out for you. I said, I had to start the show an hour later because I went to go pick up some things in town. And I actually got in at 8:59. The show starts at 9. I had to fire up the computers, connect some wires, acclimate myself to being in. I was hungry. I had to get a little quick bite to eat, so I pushed it back. Well, 10 for me. It was 5 for the East Coast. Now it was 6 for the East Coast. I keep saying it in Ghana time, so please don't let me confuse you. But I'm glad for you being here. But it's such a complex thing. And this is something you never, ever throw in any woman's face. I don't care what she says. Because now, if she shared some stuff with you that happened to her, and you now throw it up in her face in an argument, you now have become the abuser. You have inherited everything that has happened to her. She opened up to you, and it may have taken years for her to open up to anyone. And now you have a disagreement. Even if she said things that were harsh to you in some other way, and you think to go now and think of the harshest, most hurtful words to knock her down, male or female, of those who are victims, if you have a mate that treats you this way, they're only gonna open up the wounds. Every time you imagine you have a scab or a scar from a cut, or you have a cut open, somebody stabs you and sliced you, and it begins to heal, and somebody comes and slices it up again just as soon as it heals. You're opening up old wounds. See? And you don't, just because they opened it up or opened up and talked to you doesn't mean that you have the right to just bring it up again. This is something else people need to know. Again, just in my normal life, I've talked to so many people who have gone through stuff. And I was entrusted with information and basically their hearts, whether it was an intimacy between me and them or not. Most of the time when I had those type of connections with young ladies, It was platonic. They need somebody to help lighten that load. Men too. This is for men and women, but I'm a man. I can only speak of my experiences on those levels. And again, brothers have opened up to me also. I received a long email several months ago requesting that I speak about that, especially with the men. You know, and some of the same things apply, but society is different toward men, right? We're supposed to be strong, and, you know, these things not supposed to be happening. A lot of men feel like that would be so embarrassing if I admitted that that happened to me, because I should have been strong enough. Man, you were 4 or 5 years old. What you mean? You see? You're right, Earth Angel. A man, too, is abusive to say things to hurt others, because those words will slice you. I've been punched in the face many times. I think I punched more people. You know, I think I landed more blows in the fights that I've had, but they hurt. They hurt a whole lot. I'm going to answer a call to nature really quick. Gotta do it. The restroom is downstairs. I'll be back. I'm going to play my little usual filler song, which I think is about 6 minutes, but I'll be back in 3. But just to give me a little more time, if you don't mind, I'll be right back.
John Hawkins showed up in our country, telling us of a land filled with luxury. He said, black man, follow me to America. There you'll find more gold for your labor. Our foreparents were tricked onto his boat. Since that time we've been wrestling with the gold. We landed here in Jamestown, Virginia, 400 years to suffer. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is black man hell. When the slave master wanted to have some sport, he would heap on our parents' cruelties of the worst sort, burn them at stake, hang them on trees. His ears were deaf to our parents' pleas. Though you were pregnant black woman, you pull the plow like a horse, like a dog, even a cow. He filled your womb with his wicked seed. His half-white children you were made to breed. Oh, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell. So so-called Negro, open up your eyes. Black man everywhere is on the rise. He has kicked the white man out of Asia, and he's going fast out of Africa with every ounce of strength and breath. His cry is, give us liberty or give us death. The whole black world has their eyes on you to see what the so-called Negro is going to do. So my friend, it's easy to tell, our unity will give the white man hell. God made a promise to Abraham, his seed would be a stranger in a foreign land. They would suffer and be afflicted 400 years, but he would come, wipe away their tears. Our God and Savior, Allah has come. He has declared the white man's day is done. He has given us a divine messenger, one prophesied to come. His name is Elijah. We now can stand up, no word to tell. Our God has come to give us heaven and take the dead into hell.
Yes. Let me make sure this cuts off. Good. That's one version. That's the other original version that I used to love growing up. But there's the other version I was playing at first. I still have that on there too. So I'll play that at the end of the show, you know. But yeah, it's a very sensitive thing. And sometimes you will have people in your family or be in a relationship, and you won't find this stuff out until years later. And so many people hold it in, not to make fun of it, but it's like being constipated. It's an emotional constipation. You know when your stomach ain't right, and you know you done dressed up, look forward to going to this function, and your gut is so packed up, and you're feeling it now. You got all this rich food around you, but you don't feel like eating it. You're backed up. You can't enjoy because of what's going on in the inside of your stomach. Well, it's the same way with emotions and things that have happened to you. And then you look around and you say, I wonder if this happened to her. Or she seems to be, this is a young lady speaking now, right? Or thinking, she seems to be so outgoing, talking about another woman she knows. I wish I can be like her. So she's closed off. And whether she knows the reason why or not, because sometimes we just block out everything. You see what I mean? We block things out and go on thinking it's going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. Please, if you listen and you've been through some of these things, you got to get help. And it's not, see, many of us as Black people, we take that as, first we want to say, I don't need no help. Yes. It's like going to the hospital in a perfect world. You know how hospitals do us. Sometimes you need help. Your car breaks down, you need help. Well, things like this happen. I mean, it makes it where even what you would call a childhood, not a childhood. And everybody thought that you grew up in a nice house. You had loving parents. You went to the best schools. You never wanted for anything. What's wrong with you? See? How could you open up to people like that? Obviously, it's something deeper. You have to have an atmosphere, a loving, nurturing atmosphere, and allow someone to open up in time. My mother and father always, at different points in my life, if there's anything you ever need to talk to me about, I can talk to you about anything. Always come to us. But what happened with me was so young, I didn't realize what it was. An older cousin, female, used to look after me. I was 5 years old. I've told that before. We play these little games and stuff. And I always remember her being on the couch in a short slip. And she manipulated me through playing games with candy and placing the candy at different parts of her body to do things to her. And she was steady, man, shoot. It was something. And that imprinted me. I'm not going to say I was like recklessly promiscuous. I just never said no to women, which made it open the door for women who are older than me to replicate this type of thing. And the way I kind of explained it was like when you see a bunch of men sitting around playing cards at one of the guys' house. And one of the men sees that particular man he's visiting. He sees her daughter. And he may try to dress it up as something light. Man, Bill, your daughter over there, she going to break hearts when she get older. That's the dude you watch. Why are you saying that? She might be pretty. And, oh, she's a very pretty young girl. She's a very attractive young. But that thing there, what are you going to be hanging around for her to turn 18? Or maybe not. Maybe you're trying to get in position now. Well, my experiences have been these church ladies. Oh, your son is getting the muscles and he's going to break hearts when he gets older. And I've told this story, and I'll just say it briefly. All of a sudden, they want you over their house to help them lift something heavy. And I was cool with it because of my imprinting. I actually wanted it. I thought I wanted it, but they were using me. Yeah. Saved and sanctified, speaking in tongues, using them same tongues to do different things that had nothing to do with church. We'll leave it at that. The importance of early intervention in education. Early intervention in education are critical in preventing sexual abuse and incest. Teaching children about body autonomy, consent, and safe boundaries from a young age can empower them to protect themselves and report abuse if it occurs. Schools, parents, and community programs must play an active role in providing this education and in recognizing the signs of abuse. Early intervention can significantly reduce the long-term impact of abuse and prevent the perpetuation of the cycle. The intersection of sexual abuse with race, class, and gender. The experiences of Black survivors of sexual abuse are shaped by the intersection of race, class, and gender. Systemic racism and socioeconomic disparities can exacerbate the trauma of sexual abuse and limit access to resources and support. LGBTQ survivors within the Black community face additional challenges, including discrimination and marginalization. It is crucial to recognize and address these intersecting factors to provide comprehensive support to all survivors. Now, you know, I make my little quips about not being a rainbow dude or whatever, but you got to understand. And I'm not going to say that everybody who's gay was molested. I'm not going to say that. But just like many of us who are not gay who were molested, there were so many people who are gay who were molested. Gay and lesbian. Just we got to be afraid to say that? And lots of times it was that soft-spoken, not too testosteronized little boy who was the target for that uncle or that neighbor or that pastor. Huh? And it just inflames certain things. So just because eventually they ended up flying the rainbow flag, they were still a black child being abused in the black community. It needs to be addressed with just as much concern and just as much love, because they're human beings still. Anything else, they'll work it out. But they were a child too. So we can't turn our back on that. Most of the time, it don't matter because he's gay anyway. Yeah, that's what people say. Pain is pain, trauma is trauma. And somebody dropping the ball on their watch is not a good thing. Healing and recovery, pathways to overcoming trauma. Healing from sexual abuse is a long and challenging journey, but it is possible with the right support and resources. Different therapeutic approaches, such as trauma-focused therapy, somatic experiencing, and EMDR, can help survivors process their trauma and reclaim their lives. Self-care, community support, and finding meaning and purpose are also essential components of the healing process. Survivors must be empowered to take control of their healing journey with the understanding that recovery is a deeply personal and ongoing process. Ongoing. It's not like, well, if you come over here and do therapy for 5 sessions, everything's going to be all right. And if anybody ever tells you that, don't even deal with them. It's ongoing. There's certain things that have nothing to do with that situation that I explained that I went through that were traumatic. Nothing in the house. I mean, aside from my brother being on substances, that bothered me. I never had a chance at a relationship fully with him because he was on them drugs most of the time. And that's an isolated incident because I can still say that I had a very wonderful childhood. But there were things that in life, in the world, you know, that are there. Like with me and racism has always been on my backside. I was always the one picked out in situations where it passed other people and it came right to me. It was like, wait a second, what is this? Some kind of magic spell cast on me? But it's just like that. Because see, we have these demons that roam the earth, negative forces, negative energies that are contained inside people. And when you are a child or a grown-up who has a certain light about you, these entities want to violate it. And with sexual abuse and incest, it's like, that's what it's really all about. Your life force, your light, your innocence. They want to take that because they don't feel good about themselves. So for a second, they feel relieved of their toxic traits that they have inside of them when they rob somebody else of their innocence. It's sick, and I'm not just going to say it's sick and relieve them of that. It's damn evil because they know what they're doing on a premeditated level. See, if I'm sick and I sneeze, I couldn't, the sneeze just came because I'm sick. It's not like I'm going to wait to sneeze later on, but nobody's around. I can't control the sneeze. That's sickness. And sure, we know they can't control themselves, but you know how to control yourself in a room full of people. You're not going over there by your niece or your daughter or the next door neighbor's kid and doing stuff. It's premeditated too. You do thinking and action follows thought. It's evil, and evil needs to be banished. So if you can't stop the buck of what you may have gone through as an adult who's doing this to kids, then somebody else will snuff you and take you out. Because when it affects children, it's unacceptable. If you want to drink your liver away, you want to gamble your mortgage or rent money away, all the things you want to do, go ahead and do it. but don't involve children. You are evil, and you deserve one right between the eye. That's what I say. See, I see a comment here. Earth Angel, I'm glad you're healing. I believe some things and behaviors deserve no forgiveness. We must pay or get paid for what we do. Exactly. 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 You're so right. I have to agree with you. 110%. Breaking the generational curse, moving from silence to action. Breaking the generational curse of silence and abuse within Black families requires collective action and accountability. Open dialogue, education, and community involvement are vital steps in ending the cycle of abuse. Both survivors and their families must be empowered to speak out, seek justice, and create a safer, healthier future for the next generation. The time to break the silence is now. And it is through our collective efforts that we can begin to heal these deeply hidden wounds. As we conclude this exploration on the Lancescurv show of sexual abuse and incense, I said incense. I know my throat is dry. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me take a sip. I said incense. I need to burn some good incense. You know, that's what I love about Black neighborhoods, man. You go to the shopping areas, they got the guys back in the day with the black books and the incense, and you hear something playing in the background, righteous. There's something about that. I miss that. So you know what? I got to become that. Anyway, let me take this sip. Yeah, I was sipping last night, but that show was how long? About 5 hours and 30 minutes, and it was juicy. Any 5 minutes that you took out of it was good. I'm not saying because of me. It's everybody who came on. It was good. Let me just drop this here. This may not be a 5-hour show tonight. I will always offer the opportunity for folks to come in. I got a little more to speak and wrap it down and say a few more things, you know. The emotional, psychological, and physical toll of such abuse is immense, and the journey from healing is often long and arduous. We must approach this topic with the utmost empathy and compassion, understanding that each survivor's experience is unique and deeply personal. It is our collective responsibility to create a supportive environment where survivors feel safe to share their stories, seek justice, and begin the process of healing. The silence that has surrounded this issue for so long must be broken, not just through words, but through meaningful actions that support survivors and prevent further abuse. This involves not only holding abusers accountable, but also addressing the cultural and societal factors that have allowed such abuse to persist. Survivors need to know that they are not alone, that their voices matter, and that their pain is recognized and validated. By standing in solidarity with survivors, we can help dismantle the stigma that has kept them in the shadows and empower them to reclaim their lives, because that's really what it's all about, reclaiming their life. For those who have suffered in silence, the path to healing may seem daunting, but it is important to remember that healing is possible. With the right support, survivors can begin to rebuild their lives, reclaim their sense of self, and find peace. This journey may involve therapy, community support, and self-care, but it ultimately requires a commitment to oneself and a belief in one's ability to overcome the trauma. It is our hope that this discussion and what we spoke on serves as a beacon of hope and a reminder that healing, though difficult, is within reach. Finally, I extend our deepest empathy to all victims of sexual abuse and incest. Your pain is real and your journey is valid. We stand with you in your fight for justice, healing, and the right to live a life free from the shadows of your past. Together, we can create a world where such abuse is no longer tolerated, where every child grows up in a safe and loving environment, and where survivors are honored for their strength and resilience. We got to talk about this more. We're going to attack it from different angles, so many different angles. And I do want to hear from individuals. And if you want to talk to me, I'm going to put my information across the bottom. I'm not some life coach. I'm not charging you anything. But if you just want to talk, I will not repeat what you share with me on the show. The only things that I repeated were personal experiences where after speaking with the person that I knew, they said, hey, I wasn't even online. There was no online back then, okay? They said, hey, man, if you want to talk to somebody, because they always knew I was in communication with people and trying to help. That's the side of me that people don't see, that offline, off the show, if somebody calls me up and says, listen, I'm hiding my number. I don't even want you to know my number, but I want to talk for a little while. If I got the time, or if I say, listen, I'm busy now, don't think I'm putting you off, but you can hit me back at this time, or leave away an email address or something. I email, hey, I'm going to be home for the next 3 hours if you want to talk. That lightens my heart. See, that ain't got nothing to do with clicks and cash apps and PayPals and likes and shares. That ain't got nothing to do with that. That's what we're supposed to do as human beings, deal with what's in our path. And because maybe possibly anybody can get on social media and have somewhat of a reach, because I have one for so many years and 2 decades plus, it makes it a little easier for folks to reach out. Because when they hear me talk here, it's the same way I talk on the phone regular. Sometimes I mess up a word or sometimes I stutter. I'm not worried about that. As a human being hurting out there, and they reach out, and sometimes they feel there's nobody to reach out to. Sometimes they feel like, oh, wow, I'm all alone. I don't have anybody. You know what I mean? Don't feel that way, because there are a lot of people who feel that their life is not worth anything, and they do, they do something where we don't see them anymore. And if you're listening to this show and you're feeling that way, then it's my responsibility to talk to you, right? And that's private. I would not want anybody to know or listen to a show like this and still feel bad. And because I know some wonderful people also that you can talk to. They have these numbers with intervention. Yeah, I didn't put the numbers up. It's a big world out here. It's easy to get those things. You can Google that and get it. But to speak to a real person, listen, I had a bunch of people talk to me, and it took 2 days. I just had to make the announcement. Listen, y'all, for the next 2 days, I can't do no show. There's somebody that needs me. And the same with you all. Here, if somebody needs you, and you really look in their eyes and see, that's going to make a difference. It needs to happen, because there are people that I've known that they didn't come to me. It might have been when I was a teenager, in my 20s, and even in my 30s. Oh, man, I've been around for a long time. I can just knock off them. Oh, man. But you find out that they took their life. But you knew them. But you didn't know them that close to talk like that. You say, man, if I only knew, I could have made a difference. Maybe, maybe not. But take a shot. Take a shot. Befriend them. Take them under your wing. Say, listen, I know I'm busy, but every Saturday evening or every Saturday morning I go shopping over there, I want you to come with me. Check up on them every day. Hey, I'm checking up on you. Not because, I think you, just because you think. Let them know you're worthy. You got a personality. Make them laugh. Find out what makes them laugh. Don't be corny. No, see what makes you laugh. You find out. Create some memories. Make them laugh. Make them feel good. Take them out of themselves and take them out of that pain. Everybody doesn't have the personality to do that. I know I can do it. I'm like, man, last we had a ball. Not to forget things, but to take you away from it for a little while, because you're going to have to revisit it in the midnight hour. Let me be your Anbesol for a few hours for the toothache that you have, right? For those who don't know about Anbesol, it's a little temporary thing you put on your tooth, and the toothache goes away until that tooth is pulled. It doesn't take anything. There's so many people locked away inside their homes or in their worlds, and you may say, hey, how's everything? All right, everything's all right. That's the stock answer, y'all. You know how many people we see in the news, people we don't even know? And it's like, the people are crying. This woman, she took her life. Her husband was a multimillionaire. They lived in a big mansion. They had a summer home in the country. She was a housewife and she still had help. They had wonderful kids, get ready to go to college. But she took her life. Why? We don't know. And lots of times the things from the past bother a person so much where they can't even enjoy the present successes that they have. And we look at it from the outside and we start going down the list of what they have. What you have is not going to take away that pain. What you have is not going to take away a lot of pains that you have in your life. There are many people that douse themselves in material items. I'm not saying this theoretical woman, because their husbands have done the same thing and they just never knew what happened. What were they struggling with? Before you go to bed tonight, just think about all the people you know and ask that question, whether it's true or not, right? What is, and put that name in there, what are they struggling with that the world, possibly struggling with, that the world doesn't know about? Could there be a struggle? When you catch them off guard and you see the expression on their face, you know, how does it look? I know when I'm very intense reading something or thinking about something, when I'm walking down the street, I look straight mean, like I'm doing a ring walk before a heavyweight championship fight. And people who know me say, why are you looking so mean, man? I'm like, oh, man, I'm deep in thought. People that know me know that that doesn't mean anything. But what is it that we could be going through? Lots of times we cover ourselves in a perfect image, perfect behavior. I mean, there's nothing perfect, right? But we put this thing on to cover the pain. And we pretend oftentimes that pain's not there. That's the only place we can go to is play pretend. Some people want to get high with substances. Some people were addicts for a long time, and you say, oh man, they just a slimy, greasy, dope head. What were they going through that made it where it was so easy to get hooked on that? You get hooked on something because it takes you away from the reality. My reality in my mind was always so sweet. I love having a clear head. I love the sunrise. I love the sunset. I love the breeze that comes through my windows at night on a cool summer night. I love the pleasure of a good meal. I love the pleasure of a deep sleep. That you're so tired because you earned your rest. And now you deserve that bed and you sleep and you let go. And when you wake up, you still lay there for a little while. I say, boy, what a wonderful sleep. And you contemplate what you're going to do for that day. And you get up and you do it and you see the day unfold and you're getting things accomplished. The joy of life. There are many people who don't enjoy life. Life to them is pain. Life to them is torment. Life to them is nothing good. You see what I mean? So we got to dig deeper and think deeper. Just because the facade looks fine and the facade looks okay doesn't mean that the insides are not in really, really deep pain. I've spoken to many of those who are incarcerated on a one-on-one basis for hours. That was my job. I did my job, did my checks, call for medical. The nurse has to go in, you got to escort her. Lawyers come, you got to escort them to where they go and stand by when they talk to their lawyers and go into the nurse and whatever. Other than that, you're checking the cells and making sure everybody's breathing. They have any concerns, any forms to turn into you to send to an admin. But other than that, I had time to talk. And I got into some deep conversations that people didn't reveal things right away. You got the surface bit of it. Then you go a little deeper. Then they open up more. And you would not believe some of the realities that so many people have come up in. When I work with the incarcerated, it was mostly men. So a lot of them stopped short of saying things about being molested by anybody. But wait a second, what noise is that? Hold on a second. Noise is a little too loud. Noise carries up here in the mountains, kind of funny, but that one was okay, we'll ignore that. If anybody, nobody can come on this, the wall is so high around this whole place, but if you want to come try it, it's going to happen. I'm going to turn into somebody else. You'll hear about it. Plus, I got the bars on the, I'm good. They don't really want what's in here either, But like I was saying, we don't know. Let's be careful with our speech and how we talk around people, because it may hurt them and we don't even know we hurt them. And that may turn them off to us. And some people say, well, I don't care, I gotta say it. And just, kind of be sensitive for that person who may not be able to tell you that they've gone through certain things. Because you can hurt them. And especially children who have gone through stuff. And sometimes they get a few years on them, they're young teenagers. You still have to be careful. Because like the books may say, 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 women have been, whatever. You're not going to know the number. I say 80%. Doesn't mean it was a full-fledged, completed act. It could have been a harassment thing. It could have been a touching thing, or just you wake up and, you're in your bedroom and, you relax. You got whatever you have on, or you can do whatever you want in your bedroom. And there's some person peeping at you and you wake up and you see them. Abusers are creepy people. But when you finally see their face and how ugly they are, I'm not saying ugly, they could be handsome or pretty, but ugly in their spirit. And I know people who can spot that a mile away. I'm going to do a quick check. I'm going to wrap this down anyway, but I'm going to do a quick check out the windows around the perimeter. Then I'll come back and shut things down. So I'm going to play the other version of this song, but nobody can really get in here, but it's a big place. And just want to make sure, because it's not me scared of what somebody can do to me if they hop that wall. I'm scared of what I would do to them. Give me a few and I'll be right back.
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition, stripped of our names, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion? Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living, for us there's nothing but hell, pain, torture, and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven filled with material luxury, which the white man and the preacher has right here, so we see. So my friend, take it for what it's worth. Your heaven and your hell is right here on this earth. So let's check back into history, which rewards all research and tells us plainly. Before the white man gained entry to the East, he was living in the caves of Europe, a ravenous beast, eating juniper roots and eating flesh raw, till God sent Moses to civilize him and teach him the law. Then, following Marco Polo, an explorer, he gained entry into Asia and Africa. From China, he took silk and gunpowder. From India, he took jute, manganese, and rubber. He raped Africa of her diamonds and her gold. From the Mideast, he took barrels of oil untold. Raping, robbing, and murdering everything in his path. The whole black world has tasted of the white man's wrath. So, my friend, it's not hard to tell. A white man's heaven is a black man's hell. Before we came to America, we were living in the East. By the Nile River, we were living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the
Okay, sorry to cut it off so abruptly. That particular button, for some reason, I didn't know how to cut it off. There was a man down the road, across the street, down the road. He was dragging something, not garbage, I don't know what, some big metal, something to sound to me, you know. And when I first moved here, the birds would land on the roof and the ceilings weren't done. And it was like, boom, boom, I would jump up, and I still got a little bit of that in me. So I was sorry to break the flow of the show. And I'm going to sign off a little earlier than last night. We did a long show, but that has nothing to do with me signing off now. I want to get up and prepare the show for tomorrow night. It'll be something else. I have a long list of, you know, things. And I think this weekend we need to have a little fun. You know, we talk a lot of serious things. We need to have a little fun and joke around and laugh and stuff like that. And somehow, some way, it'll manifest this weekend. The time is going by so fast. What's up with that? Like I said, August is leaving. This day went by so fast. I find myself, although in a really, I'm not going to say slow way of thinking. I've still got a New York mentality. I'm still trying to utilize every single minute. But I can feel that time has sped up. And I should be feeling the opposite where I am in the country. But it just feels like it's just, I don't know whether maybe that's my enthusiasm or something. I don't know. But I'm never going to lose that. I'm going to always keep that going on. But I'm going to wrap it up, y'all. I don't know if anybody wanted to say anything. I put the link in the chat. But everything ebbs and flows. It's not going to be the same all the time. You know, I'm always going to be here talking and speaking on things. And you're always welcome to come in whenever you want. And that's the way it goes. You know, we ebb and we flow. But I'm going to wrap things up. Just want to say much love to you all. And I'm going to sign off. I'm going to take an early bed tonight. I'm going to get up. I got to do a lot in the yard, Mr. Scurv and I, and we're just going to focus on, I have something to put up that she spoke on. I'm too tired right now. Oh, I'm not tired right now, but I will be in an hour. And I know when I get into making these banners and doing all this other stuff, I have to do it right. But I'll probably put that up tomorrow after I figure out what the show is. But I do want to wake up early. I don't have to, but I do want to wake up early tomorrow and really jump on a day and power through it and ended up with a nice conversation, a nice show. So thank you all for being here. Much love to you all. Lancescurv out. Peace.